Okay, it is now 26th of July or something. Pretty much slap bang in the middle of summer here in the UK. It's blisteringly hot. I don't think we've seen rain for probably the best part of 6 to 8 weeks. It sparked an idea. I wanted to make a video and give you guys some ideas for surviving and living in a camper van when it is really hot. We've just returned back from Europe from our like 6-8 week trip, racing and riding in Innsbruck. Then we went to do a few of the EWS races. But yeah, pretty much for the past 6 to 8 weeks, it's been so hot. Like, we haven't really had a speck of rain for 6 weeks. So it's been like between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius. And it's really been a case of survival living in the motorhome when it's been so hot, especially with Kai the trail dog as well, making sure he's comfortable, happy and safe. So I thought I'd just share a few real quick tips with you on how you can live better in a motorhome when it's ridiculously hot and survive the hot weather. I'm going to walk you through a couple of, well, we're going to walk you through a couple of simple steps that we've kind of learned over the past 6-8 weeks of living in the heat and how you can not bake like a potato in your motorhome. Some of the things are going to be pretty inexpensive and you can do for little to no money. And I have one other thing that you can invest in, which is a bit more pricey, but probably 10 times better than all the other things that I'm going to talk about. So the first thing is literally, simple as it sounds, the blinds on there that go around the windscreen and the side windows. It doesn't look very presentable right now. It's like on the inside of the glass, some of the suckers have actually broken, which is why it looks like it's all not actually touching the glass. The glass is the thing that makes the, as you'll know, it's like a greenhouse. If you don't have these on, it's like your motorhome ends up just sucking in the heat, keeping it inside, and that's how your motorhome ends up being ridiculously hot and keeps the heat inside. It's pretty obvious, but one thing we've noticed with being away and we want to try is to buy and try the reflective screens that go on the outside of your glass and not on the inside. Even though these reflect heat, there's still that gap. It's the gap that's on the inside of the glass. So I was thinking if it's on the outside, it would like reflect that completely. So that's probably one thing worth trying. The second thing is, I think the past 6 months it's been like, not 6 months, 6 weeks, sorry. It's been upwards of 35 degrees. So you can imagine that's bloody hot as a postman coming down the road. Another real simple thing we try and do is keep these foil screens up on the side windows and try and keep the windows open as well, because obviously the glass, plastic perspex, it just holds heat. So we're trying to get eliminate that. 2 points on this, but actually, sounds real obvious, but obviously trying to park somewhere in the shade is like a no-brainer if you want to try and keep the inside of your motorhome cool. There's a bit of a caveat to that though, because most people have a motorhome and they want to keep their motorhome cool without going to like paying for campsites all the time. They run off solar panels, so they need the sun. So they need to park in the sun for the solar to work. So you can actually keep your motorhome cool by parking in the sun, which I'll show you how to do in just a second. Logical first answer is just try and park somewhere in the shade to keep your motorhome cool. The second part is actually, I actually recently found this out, and this is actually really useful for you. You can really drastically reduce how hot your motorhome gets by just simply changing the direction your motorhome points. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If you park your motorhome facing, this is for a British motorhome driver, facing the east, and your awning is would then be on the north, and you open your awning out, you're pretty much keeping the sun off the two longest sides of your motorhome, the east and the west, if that makes sense. No, sorry, the north and the south of your motorhome, if that makes sense. So the heat from the sun is only touching the back and the front.
I just wanted to talk a bit about vents, because some people think that they can just like leave the top vents open to keep it cool, but it doesn't really work that way, because you need to have more vents to create a breeze. So if you have a top one and one of the bottom ones open, that sort of creates a breeze through the home, and if all of them are open, then air sort of moves between them. Doesn't necessarily work if just one of them's open unless it's really windy outside. So say if the sun's on this side of the motorhome, you could probably close this blind to reflect the sun out, and then have these two vents open to create the breeze from the more shaded areas of the motorhome, which kind of creates airflow, except today there's no airflow whatsoever because of where we are parked on a friend's drive.
So you can actually buy roof vents that have got fans built into them, which create that like breeze or airflow that Amanda was talking about. Or you could also buy, we've not actually tested this yet, we talked about buying them, you can buy like your little plug-in USB fans, which you could use if you've got USB sockets in your motorhome, which most do, and you could create the breeze that way. That would be a real good way to keep the heat flowing through the motorhome. Another thing with this, keeping the sun out of the motorhome, these things are like designed, obviously if you've got one of these or you're looking at getting one, they're so well designed and insulated that they're designed to keep whatever heat is in there. So the more you can do to keep the hot air out, it will stay generally quite cool in here, whether you're in the sun or you're parked in the shade. These are some really simple tips you can do and use to keep your motorhome cool and avoid cooking like a potato in your motorhome. If you like do some simple things like keep a blind open so the sun actually comes in, everything inside this motorhome, furniture, everything heats up, so it holds the heat inside. And I got this next little tip off a YouTube video I watched earlier actually. The lady on here was, I can't remember the name of the video or anything like that. If you're struggling with going to sleep at night because your bed is so hot, she gave a real good tip for that not happening, avoiding that. So obviously a mattress with a quilt on top, the mattress already holds that heat inside, and then by the time the sun goes down in the evening, it's still got all that heat kept inside, and obviously that heat just radiates out as you're trying to go to sleep. And that's only made worse when you've got quilts, duvets and stuff, because it just traps the heat inside. So what she was saying was basically, if you strip your bed back to just a mattress and just not make your bed, and couple that with what Amanda was saying before about having a window and the vent open with a breeze going through, you should generally be able to create quite a cool environment to go to sleep in, whether you're parked in the sun or you're parked in the shade. So I thought it was a real handy tip. We should try that. And the last and final thing was not necessarily free, but if you're willing to invest in keeping your motorhome cool consistently, we were looking at buying an actual air conditioning unit that runs off the 12-volt leisure battery in the motorhome. Did some research and you can actually buy air conditioning units that you can replace your vents with. So my idea was to take this out completely and replace it with a small air conditioning unit that would cool the whole back of this motorhome. Because what we were doing when we were away, past 8 months it's been really hot, so when it has been like borderline unlivable, and not unlivable, but like extremely hot, we've been using the aircon in the actual van to cool the motorhome down. Obviously that's not ideal because it's only, the air conditioning unit is only supposed to cool the front of the cab down, not the actual living space of the motorhome, which is why we're thinking of getting one of these units. They're not cheap by any means, like I mean, the one I was looking at was probably between £1,000 and £2,000, but depending on the size of your motorhome, that's all varies. I was looking at Dometic. I'll put a link somewhere in the description, you can see the one I was checking out. Okay, so they were just some real simple tips that we've kind of learnt over the past couple of weeks travelling on the road. I hope they've been useful. Let me know in the comments below. I don't know if you've got any other tips you want to add to that, or if you take away any of these tips and use them for your own travels, your own motorhome stuff, but yeah, that's it.